Everyone, so today we're going to be making some delicious corn chowder. I made this a few weekends ago when we had a big storm here in New Jersey, and it was perfect. It was nice and warm and cozy and very filling after we all got in from shoveling. So up first here, I didn't record it, but I chopped up a white onion and some garlic cloves. Next, I'm going to do some celery. As you can see, this was the end of my celery, so I had some of the little tops of the celery in there, but those are delicious too, and they have a lot of flavor, so don't throw those out. Make sure you add those in if you ever get down to the end of it. Have a few slices of some bacon there that I just cubed up. And here I'm just peeling a few potatoes that I'm going to dice pretty small also. With this recipe, I had some corn that I froze in the summer. Living in Jersey, we get some delicious corn, but it seems to never last long enough, so I just freeze it in the husk and all, and then when I'm ready to make this soup, I just let it defrost all day, and at night it's ready to go. If you don't have that available to you, use some frozen corn and you can just adjust the broth recipe, and I'll leave those adjustments down below. I have not tried it that way, but I've had people who have tried it that way and it still tastes just as good. So definitely don't shy away from trying this recipe because you don't have the fresh corn, but if you can get your hands on some in the summer, I recommend making it that way because it is very delicious. I was having a little bit of a problem here chopping up my potatoes, not sure why that all of a sudden was difficult for me. But with my corn, I just had previously boiled it in the broth, and again the recipe will be listed down below, but I let that cool. I reserved the broth for the soup. I let the corn cool, and now I'm just slicing off the kernels, and a much easier way to slice is with the corn laying down than standing up straight like everybody likes to do it. So I recommend trying it this way because it is a lot easier. And as you can see, I did have a couple kernels that were a little dry on these ones. That's just what happens when you freeze it, but it all tastes delicious, and when it's cooked up, you cannot even tell. And if you have any spots that are really bad, of course, you could just cut it off. Using a really big pot here, I just cooked up my bacon and just removed that to a plate. If you have a lot of oil left over in your pan, you might want to take some of that out, but I didn't have too much, so I just left that in there to cook my celery, onions, and garlic together, and I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. One thing you want to be careful with in this recipe is adding too much salt. I've definitely done that before and it is not tasty, but you have a lot of salt in the broth that you use and in the bacon, so just be mindful of that. So I added all that in, and as you can see here, I reserved some of my corn kernels and some of the broth that I'm going to blend up. You can also do this with an immersion blender, but that just thickens the chowder without having to add too much flour or anything. So we added in all the corn, the potatoes, and now the blended corn. Just cook that for a little while, add some parsley, and you're good to go. Enjoy!